Old people going back to college/university. What has been the biggest generational shock with that has happened to you with the new generation? Everything with the younger crowd was a crisis. Problems with parents, SOs, friends, making decisions, etc. They simply had not acquired the experience or maturity to juggle life and academics at the same time, and so any issue that arose was like the end of the world for them, especially when a project was due or a test was coming up. I tried to keep the eye rolling to myself, but I was dealing with a full-time job, full-time academic load, a husband and a small child. I know their problems were enormous to them, but it was tiresome to listen to them sometimes. On the other hand, I marveled at their endless energy and enthusiasm. They all had such optimism about their futures. That was really nice to see. I actually became pretty good friends with a few of these students, and stay in touch even now. Hasn't that always been true? Everything is new when you're young. Oh, your girlfriend left. What is this hurt I feel? I have never felt this before, and will never be whole again. People are experiencing new things and often don't have the knowledge to deal with them or know how to even express what they feel. Whenever I had to work in a group, they all seem to inherently know all these different ways to communicate that I've never heard of. They'd say, let's meet on Grup or FaceTime or Skype and other things I'd never heard of. Once I was on, I had a tough time following the conversations. I was hoping that my extra life experience would be an advantage, but it was actually a disadvantage that I was so behind technologically. I had the exact opposite problem. I lived a few towns over, and I had work and other responsibilities, so in group projects, it was hard for me to meet up with others and coordinate plans. At the beginning of every semester, I'd swap contact info with my teammates and suggest a Slack room or Google Hangouts for group convo. With few exceptions, most of my texts, emails, or messages would be ignored, or I'd get an email that the group would be meeting up in 10 minutes. Meanwhile, I'm 15 miles away at work. Ugh. These people were usually at least 10 years younger than me. I would have gladly adapted to any chat platform if it meant we could coordinate better. I'm only 30, but I'll offer my point of view. The first time I went to college I was 17. I just graduated at 30, took a gap decade. I was surprised this time around how blatant a lot of kids were with using cell phones during class, right in front of the teacher. When I'd gone to school the first time, smartphones weren't really a huge thing, especially not in my poor small backwoods town. But wow, people just aren't afraid to use them in class, right in front of the teacher, obviously not paying attention or contributing to the discussion. A few profs would say something when they saw it, but most just seemed to be used to it. I find it disrespectful. I went to college in the early 2010s. We were all goofing off on our laptops. And before that, I'd sneak a book into class and try to hide it while reading it. Nothing has changed. I just finished community college a few years back, and the majority of the teachers had strict no phone or computer rules. I thought it was a bit overboard. Basically, unless you had a disability accommodation, there was no tech allowed. I applied to an acad non-diploma mill online school several decades after having gotten an academic suspension from university, major depression, issues with my parents, and a video arcade conveniently located in the student union. That became my hangout instead of boring lectures in huge auditoriums with other soon-to-be weeded out students. The biggest shock, I guess, was how easy the material seemed. Maybe my years of work experience gave me an edge somewhat, but the work really wasn't challenging, especially in the online environment with forums and chat and video-based lessons. Despite this, I emerged in the end with a bona fide 4-year BS degree. It was worth it, and helped me get a higher paying job in it, but I don't think I really learned a lot. Same. ACAD Online Masters Program. The material wasn't hard at all. You just had to put in the time to complete the essays and projects. They even give you the grading information before you submit, so you can double check you hit everything you needed to. As long as you are coherent and support your claims, you do fine. At a large public university, I was impressed how eager and willing the younger students were to know about corporate life. I'm in upper middle management in a larger company. I never finished college, so I used our tuition reimbursement program and was able to finish up. Just about every class in the business school and even some of the general education courses, I would end up giving multiple presentations about various aspects of business. Some of the topics I covered: interviewing 101, meeting etiquette, project proposals, project budgeting, data analytics, staffing models and workload forecasting. I genuinely love my job and company. I could have talked about it all day. Honestly, you might still be underestimating how interested young people are. I think if you made some videos on all those topics, they'd get a lot of views. I'd watch most of them. It was ridiculous how underprepared and lazy they were. All I had to do is show up to class and turn anything that looked like work, and I was at the top of the class. A girl in my classes kept showing up an hour late with no homework and would still have on the sweet pants she slept in. I got up 2 hours before class to commute here, and you live across the street and can't even put pants on. She was not the only example of this, just the best one. A guy in my class didn't turn up for 4 months to a 9 AM class as it was too early. He lived 2 minutes tops from the building. I live 30 miles away and arrived 40 minutes early every time. It's maddening, isn't it? The worst part is when they get a passing grade anyways. I hope that life after graduation teaches them some skills that college isn't going to. I look almost a lot younger than I actually am, so my communications gen ed professor was going through the back history of communication devices over generations, and how ease, speed and breadth of it has advanced over time and changed the world. The classroom was so old, he was able to get dial tone on a rotary telephone. Professor said, to the effect of, 5 points bonus CR, no googling, to whoever can dial the department's landline number on this. I decided to go last and watched as it took about 15 students before one of them got it right, because they said their grandma showed it to them when they were younger. Now, turn that around, and we are doing group projects, and the other students say, text me the details of our next meeting. And the details are about 20 characters long, and I only have a flip phone. Well played. Everyone just wants teachers who hand out easy A's for minimal effort. Amazingly, many teachers seem to do this, to the point where it seems to be a standard expectation of students. Whenever I encounter a class that is a little difficult, students drop like flies. Do degrees mean anything anymore? Not really. They've just become a checkbox on our manager's list for screening job candidates. Freshman year is 13th grade of HS. Just having a bachelor's isn't going to make you stand out on a job application. Those students probably want to maintain good academic standing so they can apply into a good master's program, medical school, law school. If everyone else is getting a degree, you need a way to make yourself stand out. I guess 24 was kind of old. Biggest shock wasn't really generation related, it was maturity level. I'm a reasonably smart guy, I guess, but I found myself cruising through assignments and getting good grades without a lot of effort, while younger kids were totally crashing and burning and getting overwhelmed. Part of it was living at home and commuting to college, and part of it was already coming from community college several years earlier. But the big difference was definitely in being a person who understood how to focus, prioritize, and schedule to get work done on time versus being someone who hadn't yet developed any of those skills. They don't get Simpsons quotes. Am I out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong. A JoJo's reference, at your age, in this conservative college, in our project group. I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with isn't it anymore, and what's it seems weird and scary. It'll happen to you. Did you get that old man yells at cloud feeling proud but super old? Son, us old people were watching and quoting The Simpsons A whilst it was still worth watching, and B before you were a twinkle in your dad's eye. So give it a rest. You're talking nonsense. I had a teacher younger than me not understand that most people in our area pay a water sewage bill and a trash bill. She lived in an apartment. Also, talking about events I've lived through that the students only know as a concept. They make really ignorant comments about the event, which irritates me to no end. Really ignorant comments about the event, which irritates me to no end. Work with them to help build an understanding. Getting annoyed at ignorance does not fix the ignorance. I miss being this variety of naive. The world was sunnier. I never, at any point, wished to socialize with my younger cohorts. Class ended at 2200, and they would all want to hit a nearby bar. All I wanted to do was go home and go to bed. Also, some younger people find punctuality stressful, and so they have chosen to ignore time and show up if when they feel like it. By the way, if you are that kind of person, know that the rest of us find you selfish and annoying. Buy a watch or learn time management skills, but do not make me wait for you. I shouldn't have been surprised to see it, but I was genuinely amazed at the amount of phones out during lectures. Kids and some of the other mature students who are older than me would scroll through Facebook and then ask me what we were to do when we were put into groups. We'd be given information on exams and they'd have no clue. They all thought I had some kind of insider knowledge as I always knew deadlines for essays, presentations etc. and understood the material. My secret was to pay attention and keep my phone in my pocket. Writing from the mobile for me was that they didn't know who Ace Ventura was. Also they quote Rick and Morty instead of The Simpsons. Also everyone using phones every time they don't know something, this one is good. And also they don't know how to use a VHS. I'm 13 and I know who Ace Ventura is. Need to brush up on The Simpsons though. I know who they are though. How terms have changed. I referred to my brother as mentally handicapped. He has Down syndrome, and you would have thought I dropped the N-word. Everyone stared wide-eyed. The professor cleared her throat and made some comment about how this was an opportunity to see how things changed and corrected me. Apparently the PC term is now mentally disabled. Whoops. Phones everywhere. Students walking into class on phones. On phones during class. Phones everywhere. I guess I just assumed everyone would silence them and put them away during class. I assumed incorrectly. Really? I went to college 6 years ago and people silenced their phones. I wonder why they didn't.